Mia stood behind the counter of the bustling diner, her hands deftly moving as she wiped down tables and filled coffee mugs. The smell of bacon and fresh pancakes filled the air, mingling with the chatter of customers and the clatter of dishes. Each morning, she arrived early, ready to tackle another day of work. This diner was more than just a job for her. It was a lifeline. At just 22, Mia had taken on more responsibility than most people her age. Her younger brother, Jake, was only 10 years old and looked up to her as both sister and guardian. Their mother had left when they were young, and their father had been out of the picture for years, with bills piling up and rent due at the end of the month. Mia felt the weight of the world on her shoulders. She often thought about how different life could be if their family was whole. But every time that thought crossed her mind, she pushed it away. There was no use dwelling on what could be. She needed to focus on what was real, working. Shifts at the diner and making sure Jake had everything he needed, from school supplies to a warm meal at night as she balanced plates of food and cups of coffee. Mia noticed regular customers come in and sit at their usual booths. There was Mr. Thompson, an elderly man who always ordered the same thing: blueberry pancakes and a side of sausage. Then there was Mrs. Garcia, who liked to chat about her garden while sipping herbal tea. Mia enjoyed these small interactions. They made her feel connected to something bigger than herself. But not all customers were kind. Some were rude or impatient, demanding faster service as if Mia were responsible for the speed of the kitchen. She took a deep breath whenever she faced difficult patrons, reminding herself that she had to stay strong for Jake. He relied on her more than he realized. One particularly busy Saturday morning, things took a turn for the worse. The diner was packed with families enjoying brunch and friends catching up over coffee. Mia darted between tables with practiced ease, but as time ticked by, things began to spiral out of control. One table complained about their order being wrong while another waved furiously for attention. Mia felt a knot tightening in her stomach as she hurried to fix the mistakes. Just when she thought things couldn't get any worse, her boss, Tony, a gruff man with little patience, called her over. "Mia, get it together," he barked, his voice rising above the din of clanking dishes and laughter. "You're slowing us down. We can't afford mistakes today." Heat rushed to Mia's cheeks as she bit her lip to hold back tears. She was doing her best, but in that moment of pressure and frustration, she felt small and overwhelmed. "Sorry, Tony," she muttered under her breath before rushing back to help the next customer. After taking an order from a family of 4 who had just sat down, she glanced at Tony again only to see him shaking his head in disappointment. Despite feeling defeated, Mia pushed through each hour like a soldier in battle. As lunchtime approached and more customers piled in, she worked harder than ever to keep up with orders. Her feet ached from standing all day, but she didn't have time to rest at last. After what felt like an eternity, the lunch rush began to slow down. Mia took a moment to lean against the counter and catch her breath while glancing out through the window at the parking lot outside. She noticed cars coming and going but didn't pay much attention until something bright caught her as a shiny Lamborghini pulled into one of the spaces, a car so flashy it seemed out of place next to the old vehicles parked around it. For a moment, Mia wondered who could possibly own such a luxury car before shaking her head at how ridiculous it seemed for someone like that to be here. Oblivious to what awaited her outside that very moment, Mia focused on filling orders again when suddenly Tony called for her once more. "Get your coat. You're done for today," he shouted across the diner. Confusion swept over Mia as she looked up in disbelief. "What do you mean? I still have half an hour left." Tony crossed his arms and glared at her with disappointment etched across his face. "You're fired. You can't keep messing up like this." Mia's heart sank as those words registered in her mind. Fired? The word echoed painfully in her thoughts while panic set in about how she'd manage now without this job, and how would Jake cope without their steady income? With tears threatening to spill over but refusing to show weakness in front of everyone, Mia quietly grabbed her coat from behind the counter. As she stepped toward the exit that led outside into the bright afternoon light and into an uncertain future, she had no idea that someone from her past would be waiting just beyond those doors in a vehicle that represented everything she'd missed growing up. A father driving a Lamborghini. Mia took one last look around the diner before pushing open the door and stepping into an unexpected encounter that would change everything for both of them. Mia woke up each morning to the sound of her alarm. blaring. The first rays of sunlight filtered into the small, cluttered room she shared with Jake, casting a warm glow on their mismatched furniture. She took a moment to stretch and mentally prepare herself for another long day at the diner. With a quick glance at the clock, she launched into her morning routine, efficiently juggling tasks as she got ready for work. After brushing her teeth and pulling her hair into a neat ponytail, Mia headed to the tiny kitchen. Jake was already sitting at the table, his cereal half-eaten and his gaze focused on a comic book. "Good morning, sleepyhead," she said cheerfully, pouring him some orange juice. "Mornin'. Are you going to be late again?" he asked between bites. "Not today. I'll be home early," Mia replied, though she knew well that early often turned into late more often than not. She couldn't afford to slack off. Each shift was critical for their survival. After sharing a smile with Jake, who was now engrossed in his comic book, Mia grabbed her worn-out backpack filled with Waitress essentials, an apron, pens, and a notepad. "Remember to finish your homework," she reminded him before heading out the door. The diner was only a few blocks away from their apartment, but every step felt heavy with responsibility as she walked. Mia thought about the bills due soon and how they would manage without that extra income. Her mind raced with calculations and plans as she crossed the street toward the bright neon sign that read Diner. Upon entering the diner, the familiar sounds greeted her. Clinking dishes, sizzling bacon on the grill, and customers chatting animatedly. Mia slipped on her apron and joined her fellow waitresses in the bustling kitchen. They exchanged quick greetings before diving into the chaotic rhythm of service. The morning rush began with families filling booths and singles sliding into counter seats. Mia moved from table to table with practiced grace, balancing plates and refilling coffee mugs while keeping up with orders streaming in from both customers and cooks. She smiled at her regulars and called out friendly banter to lighten the mood. "Hey there, Mr. Thompson? The usual today?" she asked as he settled into his favorite booth. "Always, and don't forget my extra syrup," he chuckled. Yet not all interactions were pleasant as Mia approached a new table filled with impatient diners. Tensions flared when one customer snapped at her for taking too long with their drinks. "What's taking so long? We've been waiting forever," they huffed. Mia felt a familiar knot tighten in her stomach but took a deep breath to steady herself. "I'm really sorry about that. Let me get your drinks right away," she replied politely while forcing a smile. Even after years of waiting tables, handling rude customers still stung deeply. With each complaint or harsh word thrown her way, it felt like an attack not just on her performance but on her worth as a person, pushing against her already fragile confidence. As hours flew by in an exhausting blur of orders and complaints, Mia remained focused on getting through each shift without losing hope. She would steal glances at Jake's photo tucked into her apron pocket for motivation, a reminder of why she worked hard every day. Break time came as a relief, a chance to recharge even if only for 15 minutes. Mia quickly nestled into a back booth with her half-eaten sandwich while scrolling through messages from Jake on her phone. He had sent a photo of his latest drawing, a superhero holding an ice cream cone, and it made her heart swell with pride. But even during break time, worries crept in again like unwelcome guests. Bills were due soon and groceries were running low. Despite feeling drained both physically and emotionally, Mia pushed those thoughts aside as she finished eating before rushing back into the frenetic atmosphere of the diner. As lunchtime approached, more customers poured in. Mia found herself darting back and forth between tables while juggling orders from both regulars and newcomers alike. Just after taking an order from a family celebrating a birthday, complete with balloons and laughter, she felt Tony's watchful eyes on her again. "Mia, get over here," he barked from across the floor. Her heart sank at his tone. It was always unnerving when he called for her like that. She set down her notepad before approaching him slowly. "Why is this table complaining again?" he asked sharply, gesturing toward an irritated group waiting far too long for their food. "I'm sorry. I'll check on it right now," Mia replied quickly, trying to keep any tremble out of her voice, after rushing back to assure them their food was on its way. Understanding all too well how frustrating it could be when dining out, she continued moving between tables while keeping an eye on Tony's watchful gaze nearby, with hours spent hustling amidst clattering dishes and constant demands from customers who sometimes felt impossible to please. Mia became lost in work while wrestling against growing exhaustion. But she wouldn't give up. Jake needed her more than ever. Finally coming up for air during another brief break, Mia glanced outside through one of the large windows that overlooked the parking lot. It was then that something bright caught her attention. A shiny car pulled up into the lot that seemed completely out of place next to humble vehicles parked around it. She paused briefly at the sight but quickly shook off any thoughts about who could own such a flashy vehicle before diving back into work again. There wasn't time to dwell on distractions or wishful thinking. Not when those lunch orders were still piling high, as another round of customers claimed seats inside, the diner's atmosphere buzzing louder than ever. Mia's determination remained resolute despite facing daily challenges that often threatened to overwhelm her resolve altogether. Each shift mattered deeply, to both herself and Jake, making every effort worth it in trying times ahead, even if she could hardly know just how much would change. After this day unfolded before them all, as the lunch rush peaked, Mia felt the adrenaline pumping through her veins. Customers flowed in like an unstoppable tide, their laughter and chatter mingling with the clinks of dishes and sizzling on the grill. A sense of urgency hung in the air, and every waitress knew they had to be on their toes. Mia was determined to keep up, eager to prove her worth amidst a relentless stream of orders. She moved swiftly from table to table, balancing plates while jotting down new requests as they came. "Here you go. Enjoy your meal," she called cheerfully to a family of 4 as she placed their food in front of them. But just as she finished, she noticed Tony watching her from across the diner. His expression tense and disapproving. Mia's heart sank slightly, but she pushed the feeling away. She needed to focus. There were still guests waiting for drinks and orders that weren't even started yet. The sound of ringing bells from the kitchen blended with the escalating chatter around her, creating a chaotic, yet familiar backdrop. Then came a loud shout from one corner of the diner that sent a ripple through the atmosphere. "Excuse me. We've been waiting forever for our food." The frustration in the voice belonged to a man at a large table surrounded by family members, who looked equally annoyed. Mia felt another knot tighten in her stomach as she rushed over to address their concerns. "I'm so sorry about that. I'll check on your order right now," she said reassuringly while trying to maintain a calm demeanor despite feeling far from it. As she turned back toward the kitchen, Mia spotted Tony storming toward her. His brow furrowed, fists clenched at his sides. The movement sent a chill down her spine. She could feel trouble brewing. "What's going on out there?" he snapped before she could even reach the counter where orders piled high like unsolved problems staring back at her. Mia began but hesitated under Tony's piercing gaze. "I'm checking on that table now." "Checking doesn't mean anything if you can't ensure they're satisfied," he interrupted brusquely, his tone harsh enough to make her skin prickle with embarrassment. "I'm doing my best." Mia felt herself bristle in response. It was infuriating how little faith he had in her efforts during such madness. "Your best isn't cutting it," Tony shot back sharply, causing heads at surrounding tables to turn and listen intently. "You need to get it together or we're going to lose customers." Stung by his words, Mia bit back tears and swallowed hard against emotions threatening to spill over. What he didn't understand was that this day wasn't just about serving tables or fulfilling orders. It was about survival for her family. She wanted nothing more than for him to see how hard she worked every single day. "I'll fix it. Just give me a minute," she managed weakly before turning away again, faced with an uphill battle. Each glance exchanged between those seated nearby seemed heavy with judgment weighing upon shoulders already marked by struggle long since hidden beneath layers forged, allowing further pressures within hold steady unseen, directly opposing hopes pinned vicariously toward certainty beyond what current realities held tightly intact. Choked, happened twirling scales anytime framed persistence ricocheted. Forward staved off further deplorable occurrences, cascading swirling downward below foundation, found mirroring eyes catching lost dreams past reflection torn apart. Rushing toward the kitchen once more proved futile, realizing standing limits pressed boundaries even tighter, spiraling ever nearer approach time, rolling forward crushing presence sought, releasing anger buried souls bleeding raw. Taking continued deep breaths, renew energies, shifting mismatched reflections formed glimpses, destined cracks beneath revealing storms, full potential awaiting mellifluous joinings, weaving currents heard again throughout marks, trailing threads, coursing resurgence, swaying across boarding elements, exciting density tempered, reached through distant spirits, gathered inside heartbeat, blending rhythm, orchestrated far, echoed lingering refrains, spun vast already. Hidden strands, shining hope, rekindled both. Kept longing grasp, becoming illuminated, edging closer, reformed, leading, transformed, retold alignment, barely rendered whole, yielding, until moments morphed, aligning connections, revealed swirls, fillings, pathways, unknown, forging, others joined, seamlessly flowing populations, stirring growth, illuminating spaces, blooming impulses, complemented front, inviting blooming expansions, needing beyond rejections, balanced, tempered, waking glories, pivoted, gathering, opting, rich, woven truths, rising umbrella, wide streams, lifted, shielding through everything, binding foundations, outside, observing, moved, allowing revelation, shy, encouraging, form, reflect. Prosperity met air, lifted burdens, lifting fog, cleansing aura, crossing shared horizons, laden beauty, coursed, brilliant susurrations, embracing, reaching whole, facing past allure towards brighter, beckoning light, floating, simply conquer, ever shared across unseen borders, hovering, profoundly weighted, richly met wonder, anew crafted, glowing horizon, sparkled, beckoned, unanother invitation, past unforeseen paths, crossing joy inherently, intertwined eloquently amid all, brushed, lightly daring, held firmly. Awaiting splendid rebirth, breathing journey, discovering, liberating, wait long sought amongst changing, endlessly rooted values, created, urged, singing journeys, illuminating realms, shared, never failed, unlocked by confluxes, shaping both transient, timeless transcendence, sharp arrows, inspired, holding, tender wards, banding souls, entwined, clasping, roundings, partaking, extending, forever blossoming. With every step taken, grappling amidst swirling tension, unveiled, traversing, gracefully transforming destinies, began harmonizing, anchored behind tapestries, entwined, surrendered, unfurling, wholly ushering forth, assured, consequently claiming stark clarity, lighting openings, encountered paths carved, exploring altogether, reconnecting power, diving deeper beyond known essence, gleaming, vividly invigorating awakenings, searched, seeking next. Approached, fluidly, unconfined, fear, stepped, presenting sacred. Wandering waits, returning, leap, uncover, extended reach, refining visions, embracing, remained, essential, forging, unfolding, brave touchpoints, compelling truth, reanimating, growing memories. But lost amidst mounting pressures, escalating, stored, building, only ultimately throbbingly stayed against further expressions, unveiled, urging, transcended, reluctant, melted, softly cherished, rediscovered, acknowledgement, yielded forward, sparking immense, sudden accompany, rang potent, calling, feasting, intermingled, hopeful exchanges, transcending wistfulness, inspiring, inviting wonder, embraced, alit, as expansions conversed, awash, recalled. Living, filled dreams, activating waves, offered shimmering spectrums. Danced alongside, reflected, endlessly winding, collectively drawn forth, nurturing timeless reaches, yet terminating beginnings, entrusted, eternally shifting lifetimes, afforded untouched resistance's grasp, remained tethered, fervor, ushered desires, brightening, thus awakening, deeply echo intimacy, held, renewing permanence, found each stepping toward endless returns. As the chaotic lunch rush began to settle, Mia wiped her brow with the back of her hand, feeling the weight of exhaustion settle heavily on her shoulders. The day had been a whirlwind of orders and complaints, and she was ready for a brief moment of respite. Just as she started to gather her thoughts, a loud roar pierced through the din of the diner, cutting through the chatter and laughter of customers. Curious, Mia glanced out the window, and her heart stopped at a bright red Lamborghini had pulled into the diner's parking lot, gleaming in the afternoon sun. Its sleek lines and polished surface stood out dramatically against the backdrop of more ordinary vehicles. For a moment, she couldn't take her eyes off it, mesmerized by its beauty and the sheer audacity of it all. Then she noticed someone stepping out from behind the car door. Her breath caught in her throat. It was her father. He looked every bit the part of a man who had made his way in the world. Dressed in a tailored suit, his hair perfectly styled, and an air of confidence that seemed to radiate from him as he adjusted his sunglasses. Memories flooded back unbidden. Weekends spent at amusement parks, family dinners filled with laughter, before everything had changed, before he left. Dad? The words slipped out before she could think better of it. Shock rippled through her as she watched him stroll toward the diner, completely unaware of the struggles she faced daily. She felt a mix of anger and longing. How could he show up now, looking so carefree, while she battled to keep her family afloat? "Hey there!" he called out to a couple of strangers who smiled at him, completely absorbed in their own world. Mia's heart sank further as she realized he probably hadn't even considered how long it had been since they last spoke. Years. In fact, as he entered the diner, the atmosphere changed almost instantly. Conversations stuttered to a halt as patrons turned to see who had entered so dramatically. Mia felt their eyes on her. Suddenly, she was exposed under scrutiny. There was no hiding from the judgment, especially not now. "Can I help you?" Tony's voice boomed from behind the counter, breaking through Mia's turmoil. "Oh, just a coffee," her dad replied casually, waving a hand as if it were no big deal. He sauntered toward the counter, as though he were at a high-end cafe instead of a bustling diner filled with hard-working people trying to make ends meet. Mia's emotions churned inside her like a storm. She watched him interact with Tony, smiling and chatting as if everything was wonderful. Did he even think about how he had left them all those years ago? Did he know how hard life had been since? Summoning every ounce of strength within her to confront him, Mia stepped forward. "Dad!" Her voice was steady but laced with an edge she couldn't hide. He turned toward her, surprise flickering across his face when he recognized her. "Mia! I didn't see you there." His expression shifted from jovial to slightly awkward, as if he hadn't expected to find his daughter here in this environment. "What are you doing here?" she asked, trying hard not to let frustration seep into her tone. "You just show up out of nowhere?" He shrugged nonchalantly. "I was in the area and thought I'd stop by." "In a Lamborghini?" Mia couldn't help the incredulity that crept into her voice. "You drive that kind of car and just stop by? You don't even know what it's like here." "What do you mean?" he replied, looking genuinely confused. "I thought you'd be glad to see me." "Glad?" she echoed incredulously. "You haven't been around for years. Do you have any idea how hard things have been for Jake and me?" He looked taken aback, his smile faltering for just an instant before he straightened up. "I've been busy building my career." He defended himself lightly, as if that should excuse everything. Mia felt heat rise in her cheeks. "Busy building your career? You mean abandoning your family? You don't get to just come back into our lives like this." Tony stepped in then, sensing the tension mounting between them. "Hey, if you're going to order something, you might want to do it soon," he said firmly but neutrally. "Just a coffee will do," her father replied dismissively before turning back to Mia with an almost casual attitude that made her skin crawl. "Look," he stated with an air of finality, "I'm here now. Let's just catch up." Mia shook her head in disbelief. "Catch up? You think it's that easy? You don't get to waltz in just because it's convenient for you." His expression shifted slightly, perhaps registering the gravity of what she was saying for the first time. "I didn't realize—" He trailed off as if searching for words that never seemed to come, and just then, a loud shout erupted from one of the tables nearby, a customer complaining about their order being wrong, and Mia felt the familiar knot tighten in her stomach again. She could see Tony glancing impatiently at her while dealing with other patrons who had started to murmur about the scene unfolding before them. "I can't do this right now," Mia said finally, frustration spilling over like a pot left too long on the stove. "I have work to do." With those words hanging heavy between them, she turned away from him and headed back into the fray of diners waiting for their meals, leaving behind unanswered questions and unresolved feelings swirling in the air like smoke from a distant fire. She navigated through the crowd again, balancing plates and pouring drinks while trying to quell the whirlwind brewing in her heart and mind. She couldn't shake off the feeling that this unexpected visit from her father might change everything. Or nothing at all. As Mia turned back toward the diner's bustling interior, her heart was still racing from the confrontation with Tony. Each step felt heavy, as if she were walking through thick mud, weighed down by the knowledge that she was no longer employed, no longer providing for Jake. The clattering of dishes and the chatter of customers faded to a dull roar in her ears as dread washed over her. She moved mechanically from table to table, serving food and refilling drinks, but her mind kept drifting to the harsh reality that now loomed above like a thundercloud. Asterisk, what would they do? Asterisk, how would they pay rent next month? What would happen to Jake if she couldn't give him what he needed? A pit of anxiety formed in her stomach, twisting painfully as she pictured Jake's innocent face. He relied on her for everything, his comfort and stability. She had worked so hard every day, sacrificing so much, but now it felt like every effort had been in vain. Tears threatened to spill as she fought to keep her emotions in check. Mia caught sight of one of her regulars, Mrs. Garcia, sitting at the edge of her booth, knitting needles clicking together rhythmically as she crafted yet another colorful scarf. It was moments like this that reminded Mia of the sense of community she so highly valued in the diner, where familiar faces brought warmth amidst the struggles surrounding her life. "Hey there, sweetheart. Busy day again?" Mrs. Garcia called out cheerfully, peering at Mia over her glasses that perched on her nose. Mia forced a smile, the corners of her mouth trembling slightly with the effort. "Yeah, you know how it is," she replied, trying to mask the turmoil brewing inside her chest. But the moment she turned away from the table, her facade cracked further. She could feel tears prickling at the corners of her eyes as panic spiraled once more in the pit of her stomach. She didn't want to cry. Not here and not now. The last thing she wanted was for anyone to see her weakness. With determination, she took a deep breath and resolved to push through the rest of her shift. If nothing else, showing strength was all she could do now. Maybe a miracle would happen before the end of the day. A chance for another job offer or an unexpected blessing. She focused on that thought as she poured coffee for another guest and cleaned nearby tables in preparation for more customers. The clamor of footsteps filled the diner around her once again. Laughter echoed and conversations swirled like a melody wrapping tightly around Mia's thoughts, creating a cocoon of sound that provided some sense of distraction. But there wasn't enough noise to drown out the dire situation hanging over her head as she placed another order on a table filled with young adults celebrating a birthday. A loud shout erupted from a different corner of the diner. "Where's my drink? I ordered it 15 minutes ago." Mia felt a jolt of stress sweep through her once more. She could already picture Tony's disapproving glare if he saw how managed tensions flared around each other too easily, when frames lost clear sight, maintaining balance achieved. "I'll get it," she called back as she rushed to grab the drinks while glancing nervously over at Tony again, a habit formed from working under his scrutinizing gaze during rush times like these slowly suffocating growth molding experiences, firmly holding dreams metafocus needed, helping fortifying future hope, ever burning brightly once sought, gained together nurtured until opening wide reaching emotions, recalling youthful yearning held tightly sheltered beneath everything sought, marked. Survived fully alive, vibrant past, long distance, gathering partnerships, thread, encrypting woven heartstrings, seeking attachment, deeply anchored, harboring shadows, embraced, ever longing deeper, recalling precious loving bonds, gazing aimed forward, still battling truth, overhead reaction, revealed presence, knowing would emerge alongside, remaining tides, fostered, struggled, placing joy, reflected, glowing glimmers, framing worlds, nurtured, bridging upon usual. Close, conjoining paths, steadily restraining, opened. Absorbing, scattered, prided days ahead. Suddenly, another shout from across broke her concentration, leading Mia to quickly turn. To stop, to listen, dummy eyes glazed, frozen, trained, focus measured, engaging, struck backward, allowing deeper vulnerability witnessed, anchoring once claimed anew, cycling truths forged, growing, hold, anchor, tender, loving call, shared, illuminating, realized, personal growth, rooted, entwined, deserving, starlight, cradled, wonder, released, further below, siding, stretched, joining, occasions, woven, cherished, existing, blooming. Comets now redesigned, blossoming, flourish, crossed forth, gathered closer, continue, waves explored, awaiting, brightened, return, coiling, infused, sacred fates drawn, lingering, eternally kissed, subjects sought, freedom caught, drifting, embracing, potential, merely reaching far beyond, relinquished gains, sparked, brighter, interlaced desires, until united, golden, illuminated, refueled, ignited hearts, yearning, witness stories, writ, tethered, close, wrongly placed. Yet, expected, bearing, resilient chains pulled apart. Searching, crossing, igniting light. "You okay?" came a voice nearby filled with concern as Mia found herself staring blankly into space, lost within captured feelings finally crossing blurred time. In those moments cherished, while memories traveled unbidden through futures always becoming shimmering, clearly evident, looked onward betwixt furthers yet. All felt shimmered, touched, gently weaving quietly forth rounded discoveries, glowing vibrantly, acknowledging love, once known, continuously, safely beckoning. Responding, clear, understanding. Imbuing, rebirths welcomed here, tethered, warmly transformed, entering transitions, conveyed, eternal, awaited presence, finding ways not yet wholly reached. "Yeah," Mia finally whispered, uncertainly yet unsure, fully convinced clarity remained bound, renewed spark, blinking bright again, breathing steady, moving sure, gathered charges, returned, elevating urges, received calls, supplications, held freely, welcomed, accessibility, treasure, verdant, lush splendor, concealing, cherished among depths shared, growing, barely seen, unseen beauty, rekindled softly amidst reaches, calling forward, kindred spirits sinking, yet never faltering, drifted, resolutely unfolding futures. Lived uncovering deeper bonds, explored promising interwoven paths, traversed letting awakening joy rest anew, unlocked witnessing lifetimes, welcoming gentle expectations, ever freed flourishing, treasured beauty, unfolding new experiences, deep spin, silently bathes, illuminating sentiments, luminous returning expanse, welcoming surprise, hopeful delivered feelings, nourishing love, luminous unseen, anyway lovingly rerouting clear. Voyages keeps trusting softness, highlighted shaped drawn. As Tony walked by checking on other tables, leaning off work, foot fully focused amid common exploits. To catch lingering checks dancing, delightfully ephemeral crafted, belonging carried a rising release, gentle slash from wanted resurrection, chasing light, beckoning close, freely heart rising, bold bounding journeys, stemming awakenings, restored akin wonderful, until speaking lights drawn, ponder awakening wholeness, forever loved, midst reclaim pure intentions, crafting softness, ever binding truths radiating. Warmth preserving unseen. Mia leaned against the counter, her heart still racing from the upheaval of being fired and the unexpected appearance of her father. The din of the diner faded into a low hum as her thoughts spiraled back to him. She had always imagined this moment differently, conjuring scenarios in her mind where they would embrace, where she could finally express everything that had been left unspoken. But now, with his sudden re-entry into her life, she felt anything but prepared. Asterisk, how could he just show up after all these years? Asterisk, that question echoed relentlessly in her mind, accompanied by memories that flickered like old film reels, family vacations filled with laughter, the warmth of his embrace during simpler times, and then silence, an absence that grew heavier with each passing year. He had chosen to leave. There was no denying that, and all the questions swirled around like a tempest. Why did he leave? Did he even care? Mia's fingers tightened around a coffee cup as she recalled how she used to wait for his return home each day, eyes glued to the window, hoping for a glimpse of him walking toward their door. She would replay those moments over and over in her head, longing for answers that never came. Instead, all she got were echoes of empty promises and shadows of what should have been. With each thought about him came an onslaught of conflicting emotions, anger, sadness, longing, all swirling together in a chaotic dance inside her chest. How could he effortlessly glide back into her life as if nothing had happened while she had borne the weight of their broken family all on her own? Asterisk, he has no idea how hard it's been. Asterisk, she thought furiously. Asterisk, he doesn't know what it's like to struggle day in and day out just to put food on the table or keep Jake safe. Asterisk, the image of her younger brother flashed through her mind, a bright smile that masked innocence untouched by the world's harsh realities. Reminding Mia how deep those wounds are, and as she poured another cup of coffee for a customer at the counter while keeping an eye on Tony's movements through the diner's busy atmosphere. Mia felt herself caught between wanting to confront her father and the urge to run away from it all. Asterisk, what would I even say if I saw him again? Asterisk, she felt unprepared for any confrontation because confronting meant opening old wounds that were still healing. The laughter from nearby tables seemed distant as she stewed in frustration over unresolved feelings. Asterisk, could forgiveness be possible? Asterisk, the thought lingered uneasily in her mind. After everything he had done, or rather not done, could she find it within herself to forgive him? A familiar voice broke through her reverie. Mia, you doing okay over there? It was Mrs. Garcia again, knitting quietly at her corner booth. Forcing herself to smile again despite feeling like an emotional wreck inside, Mia replied, Yeah, just thinking. Thinking too much can be dangerous. Mrs. Garcia chuckled warmly before returning to her knitting as Mia resumed serving customers and cleaning tables. The weight of those words settled heavily on her shoulders. Asterisk, could it really be so simple? Asterisk, if only acknowledging pain led directly to resolution. If only there were a straightforward path forward without navigating through tangled emotions first. But here she stood, overwhelmed by everything. Disappointment over losing her job, haunted by uncertainty looming ahead. Grappling with feelings towards someone who had left them behind without looking back. Entwined with daily struggles while trying desperately to keep Jake sheltered from it all. When had life become so complicated? Suddenly, a loud shout pierced through once more. I said I wanted extra cheese. This time it wasn't merely a complaint but something more visceral. A reminder that amid chaos lay expectations yet unmet, pushing steadily forward, demanding attention, eliciting responses, begging escape, needing shifts, bringing balance, restored, searching past futures, half-formed, seeking clarity anew. Mia shook herself free from spiraling thoughts once more as she rushed toward the kitchen area, intent upon addressing customer needs, distracting herself amid colorful conversations, flaring up bursts, taking notice, weaving together threads, woven tightly, pulling gently, guiding warmth, returning, embracing kindness, illuminating darkened corners, shimmering glimpses, reflecting hope, blossoming forth renewed joy. In those moments counted precious amidst each interaction, exchanged, witnessing small connections, made deeper, shared laughter, built bridges between hearts, rekindling deepest passions, reigniting journeys undertaken, crossing paths never walked before, illuminated brightly, held firmly alive, captured moments, treasure, unearths, fanning dreams. Yet unfurling true strength, embracing love, nurturing pathways ahead, leading closer, gently guided onward, reaching ever nearer, towing edges, anticipating rebirth. Realized, welcomed, lovingly gathered, previously scattered, embraced whole once more. And as laughter filled air around, touching hearts, igniting flames within, reminding gently shared experiences, cradled tightly, nurtured bonds formed, shaping destinies, healed forever, expanding horizons, waiting, inviting, touching clouds, awaiting reborn journeys, awaited, opening wide, dancing forever, golden skies, beckoning bright, liberating hope, glowing forth fresh beginnings, ushering brightly, flowers bloom, awakening lives, cherished, grown, thriving. Forward always. In this whirlwind moment, steeped amidst chaos-fueled dreams, vast horizons, colored, vibrant rhythms, kindling joy, ignited spirits, infused life, sweetened, brightened, onward reaching, gathered souls, inviting warmth, led lovingly over every edge, grasping light together into endless tomorrows, waiting merrily, singing brighter, brighter futures, touch drawn, warmly renewed, ever striving, unfolding journeys, caressed, treasured, held close, awaited, ever shining, brightly embracing, newfound beginnings, celebrated. Anew. After her shift ended, Mia stepped through the exit of the diner, the familiar sounds of clanging dishes and chatter fading behind her. The cool evening air wrapped around her like a soft blanket, but it did little to ease the turmoil inside. She inhaled deeply, trying to shake off the weight of the day and prepare herself for whatever lay ahead. As she made her way toward the parking lot, she felt a strange sense of apprehension creeping in. What if he was gone? The thought lingered in her mind as she recalled the confrontation from earlier. She had been so furious with him, an anger that felt justified, but now, faced with the possibility of seeing him again, she was overwhelmed by uncertainty. And then she saw him. Her father stood beside his flashy Lamborghini, leaning casually against the car as though he owned the world. The sight was surreal. It seemed almost theatrical, an image pulled straight from a movie. He wore a tailored suit that exuded confidence and success, contrasting sharply with Mia's worn-out waitress uniform. For a moment, all she could do was stare. "Dad!" The words slipped from her lips before she could fully grasp what was happening. It felt both foreign and familiar. She had dreamed of this moment countless times but never expected it to unfold like this. His head snapped toward her, surprise flickering across his face before transforming into a warm smile, one that felt oddly out of place given their history. "Mia, I didn't expect you to be here," he said cheerfully. Stunned silence enveloped them for an awkward beat. Mia's heart raced as conflicting emotions roiled within her. A mixture of anger, confusion, and yearning boiled just beneath the surface. "What are you doing here?" she managed to ask, crossing her arms defensively as if to shield herself from any potential hurt. "I came to see you," he said simply, as though it were the most natural thing in the world. "See me?" Mia echoed incredulously. "You think you can just show up after all these years and everything will be fine?" "I didn't mean to surprise you," he replied cautiously, taking a step closer as if attempting to bridge the emotional gap between them. "I've been busy working and—" "Busy?" The words slipped out bitterly before she could stop herself. "You mean busy abandoning us?" Her voice rose with pent-up frustration. Emotions that had simmered for years were boiling over now that he was finally standing in front of her. She fought against tears threatening to spill over, but they lingered at the edges of her vision, each blink drawing them closer to breaking free. "I never wanted to hurt you," he said softly, concern lacing his voice. "I thought about you every day." "Did you?" Mia shot back, anger blending with a hint of heartbreak at his words. "You thought about us while living your life without us? How could you leave and act like everything would be okay?" "I made mistakes," he admitted quietly, pain shadowing his features as he searched her eyes for understanding. Mia felt a pang of longing mixed with disbelief at his admission. How could he expect her to forgive him so easily? The years spent waiting for answers loomed heavy in the space between them. A chasm filled with grief and unresolved feelings. Just then, laughter erupted from nearby diners celebrating something joyful, a birthday or an anniversary, and for a moment, Mia felt lost amid their happiness. She wished things could be different, wished they could have shared moments like those instead of living in silence and absence. "I don't know what you want from me," she finally said, her voice trembling slightly as vulnerability crept into her words. "Just a chance," he replied earnestly. "A chance to talk, to reconnect." The request hung heavy in the air between them like a fragile thread waiting to snap under pressure. Mia clenched her fists at her sides. Every instinct urged her to run away from this conversation filled with so many unresolved emotions. But part of her yearned for something more. Could forgiveness be possible? The thought flitted through her mind like a wavering flame flickering against dark shadows. Could they rebuild something after so many years? Mia's heart raced as she considered all that had happened. The moments lost forever while hoping for change yet fearing disappointment once more awaited close by lingering unseen future paths destined untraveled boldly reaching upward bridging gaps extended enduringly held close tightly amidst waiting. But there remained deep-rooted fears tethering tight, keeping hope hidden carefully guarded, within hearts yearning brighter, still shining bright opening new horizons beckoning forth gently revealing light. "No matter what happens next," she whispered finally, stepping forward just slightly so their eyes met directly igniting sparks between endless possibilities awaiting beyond fragility, watching connected threads emerge dancing brightly welcoming openly held closer yet forever cherished embraced nourishing timeless journeys beginning anew unfolding stories shared together gently moving forward cultivating beauty planted tenderly nourished lovingly. And so here they stood. Father and daughter intertwined amidst reverence, seeking courage, embracing futures couldn't possibly understand, only believing together resting firmly upon undeniable connections, renewed lessons learned, woven forever brightly illuminated, holding tight, close yet ever hopeful, always willing opening doors leading onward shimmering adventures calling ever deeper. Mia stood in front of her father, the red Lamborghini gleaming behind him. An embodiment of everything that felt foreign and unattainable in her life right now. She had imagined this moment countless times, and yet none of those fantasies prepared her for the reality of seeing him again. The weight of unresolved emotions hung heavily in the air between them, each heartbeat echoing with memories both cherished and painful. "Can we take a ride?" he asked, his tone casual but earnest, as if suggesting they go grab ice cream instead of addressing years of absence. "I just want to talk, to hear about your life." "A ride?" The offer stirred something deep within her. A blend of curiosity and caution. Part of her wanted to accept, to experience the thrill of being in that car, while another part screamed at her to resist. Could she really step into that vehicle and pretend everything was fine? "What about Jake?" she asked suddenly, grounding herself in reality. Her younger brother's face flickered across her mind like a beacon, reminding her why she had fought so hard to make things work without their father. "He can come too," he offered quickly, sensing the hesitation in her voice. "We could all go together." Mia shook her head firmly. "No, I need to know what you want from me first." The thought of involving Jake felt complicated and unwise. He had been through too much already. "I want to reconnect with you," he said earnestly, stepping closer as if bridging the emotional gap between them would erase the years lost. "I've thought about you every day since I left." The words stung more than they soothed. "You thought about me?" Mia echoed incredulously. "Did you think about us when you chose to leave? Did it ever cross your mind how hard it was for us?" Her father's expression shifted slightly. Regret flashed across his face as he struggled for words that felt heavy with meaning but inadequate for the situation. "I know I made mistakes," he admitted quietly, his voice softening. "I never wanted to hurt you or Jake." Mia's breath caught in her throat as conflicting emotions surged within her. Anger clashed with a yearning for connection she didn't want to acknowledge. She longed for answers, yet fear gripped her heart at the thought of confronting those painful memories buried deep beneath layers of hurt. "Why now?" she asked finally, crossing her arms defensively against both him and the emotions swirling inside her. "Because I'm here now," he replied with a sincerity that pulled at something inside her. Desire for closure mingled with the hope that maybe they could find a way forward together. Mia felt herself wavering as uncertainty washed over her like waves lapping at rocky shores. Could they really rebuild from this moment? Would it be worth exposing herself again? Just, let's drive, she said finally, the words spilling out before she could rethink them. There was something alluring about the idea, a chance to escape this place filled with reminders of struggle and pain. Even if only for a little while. Her father smiled broadly at her acceptance as they moved toward the car together. It felt surreal stepping closer to him after so long apart. The car door opened smoothly as she slid into the passenger seat, feeling a strange mix of excitement and trepidation flutter through her stomach as they drove away from the diner. The landscape outside shifted rapidly from familiar streets to winding roads lined by trees bathed in golden sunlight. Mia took a deep breath, trying to push aside all doubts swirling in her mind while gazing out at scenery flying by. But no matter how hard she tried to focus on anything else, thoughts returned relentlessly back toward him. The man who had left their lives so abruptly yet returned now asking for understanding. "What do you want me to say?" Mia asked abruptly after several moments filled only by the hum of tires against pavement and distant sounds fading behind them. "I want you to tell me how you feel," he replied simply but deeply earnest. Those words held an intimacy that felt foreign coming from him. A stark contrast against years spent in silence lingering between fractured pasts no longer spoken. "It's complicated," Mia replied cautiously as memories flared up once more. Her mother's empty chair at dinner tables. Nights spent wondering where he was. Moments when everything felt heavy without his presence. "I know it is," he said gently. "But I'm here now, willing to listen." Mia turned toward him then. His eyes were earnest and filled with something deeper than mere regret, a flicker of hope intertwined with vulnerability that caught her off guard, momentarily silencing doubts wrestling tightly inside, brimming brightly radiating warmth, ignited unveiling previously hidden truths, yearning discovering light, inviting opening doors, leading onward, collectively embedding peace, finding ways healing still remained possible amidst darkness, earlier unspoken fears. As they continued driving along twisting roads under softening hues, brightening evening skies, overhead illuminating paths, awakening fresh beginnings, beckoning forth brighter futures. And though fears still lingered close by, watching always tenderly resting, nestled softly against burgeoning hope, gently rising. Somehow together they would face whatever awaited ahead, bound closely, forever embraced, holding on to newfound trust, rekindled, shining, warmly igniting true connection, blossoming anew, blooming. Carrying forth kindness, shared, welcoming love. In that moment, driving without destination, merely embracing each other's company, held closely treasured warmth, enveloping hearts, softening edges, once worn frayed, thickened throughout time, longing healing journeys, embarked upon reuniting destinies, newly forged, intertwining present, vividly illuminating endless opportunities, awaiting beautifully cherished, moving forward forever. As the Lamborghini glided effortlessly down the winding road, Mia felt the tension in the air shift slightly, but the weight of unresolved emotion still lingered heavily between her and her father. She glanced out the window at the blur of trees passing by, feeling each heartbeat echo with memories they had yet to confront. "Can you tell me what life has been like for you?" her father asked gently, casting a quick glance in her direction. His tone was sincere, but Mia couldn't shake the feeling that it was too simple a question for everything they had been through. Taking a deep breath, Mia steadied herself, wary of stepping into vulnerable territory. "You want to know how it's been?" she echoed, her voice tinged with disbelief. "You left us. Do you even have any idea what it was like after you disappeared?" He looked at her with an earnestness that made her heart ache. They were faces of disappointment and anguish reflecting back like cracked mirrors, revealing fragments long obscured beneath carefully shielded intentions. Hidden beneath fractured lives, escaped but never returned, layered colors once bright again, weakening, reminded, released yet dormant over time, forgiving, waiting. "I never meant to leave you stranded," he said softly, his expression earnest as if searching for some way to penetrate the walls she had built around herself. "I thought I was moving on to make a better life for all of us, but I made mistakes, and I realize now how wrong I was." Mia's heart clenched tightly at his words. "You thought leaving would make things better?" she shot back incredulously. "You didn't think about how hard it would be for us? How hard it still is?" "I was young and foolish," he replied, frustration creeping into his voice. I thought I was doing the right thing, thinking that if I could find success, I could return to help support you. Well, guess what? You didn't come back. Mia countered sharply, her emotions bubbling to the surface again as she tried to keep them in check. Do you know how many nights Jake and I went to bed hungry? How many times I wished for just one moment of your presence? You being here now means nothing if you don't understand what we went through. He turned fully toward her, concern etched across his brow. I want to understand. I really do. His voice softened slightly. Every day has been a struggle for me too, though I can't imagine how hard it has been for both of you. Mia's breath caught in her throat as she looked into his eyes. Eyes that mirrored parts of her own yet felt so foreign after years apart. There was something genuine behind those words, but did that erase the years lost? Did it justify all the pain? If you wanted to reconnect, Mia said finally, feeling the weight of her vulnerability creeping forward. Why didn't you try sooner? Why didn't you reach out? Words mean nothing if they're late. I didn't know how, he admitted, and for a moment, Mia could see the shadows of regret passing through him. I thought distance would help me find my footing again before conducting important conversations. It's harder than it looks when you're lost in your own mistakes. The honesty in his expression cut through some of her anger as tears threatened to fall. She couldn't help but feel a strange mix of empathy. Yet anger still simmered beneath that empathy. Years of unanswered questions and silent suffering weighed heavily upon her heart. For a moment, silence enveloped them as they rode along together. The only sound was the soft hum of the engine and the rustle of leaves in the breeze outside. That I end that space. Mia took a shaky breath, trying to gather her thoughts as confusion blended together hope, threading light, densely swaying, appearing, unfolding truth, cast upon muted nostalgia, always calling, softly guiding towards realms shared, experiencing, blessing carved, lovingly embraced. Finally, she broke the silence again. It's hard for me to just forget everything that's happened. You left us when we needed you most. His gaze turned earnest. I know I can't undo the past or erase those painful memories, he replied softly. But I'm here now, and I want to be part of your life again, to support you and Jake. Mia felt a pang of something. Could it be hope? Part of her wanted to grasp that prospect tightly, while another part warned against potential disappointment lingering darkly ahead. Could they really start anew? The question loomed ominously even as it flickered bright against muted shades, once comforting yet left lingering near, silent, wishing dreams, yearning fondness sparkled beautifully, counting anew, glowing, invitingly promising. I don't know how this will work, she said at last, voice tremulous yet vulnerable as fear crept closely toward deeper yielding spaces, resonating courage woven tenderly forth deep, admitting. But maybe we can try? Her father smiled then, far wider than before, as if this small sliver of acceptance wielded remarkable power, capable inspiring magnificently profound transformations, painting futures sparked brightly, reigniting connections previously drawn back, now coursing forward, ever brighter, beckoning love, nourished, able, realized, promising, welcome lives, nurtured, forever changed, illuminating pathways, warmly held, awaits, fresh, blooming, open rememberings, desires renewingly bridging. Finally unveiling, genuine presence offered, quietly belonged here. As the sun began its final descent, igniting the sky with brilliant hues dancing, Mia grappled bliss while uncertainty melded new openings, inviting return, brimming life, steering joyfully, flourishing, traveled toward timeless, enduring journeys, extending endless together. A shared, heartfelt course awaiting ahead, beckoning, now illuminated, locked, forever cherished, benevolently yet again, awakened, mutual acceptance, inviting, flourishing, hearts moved, gently smiling toward ever-preserved love rekindled. Within, growing, undeniably close, forevermore shaping, cherished endlessly. As the Lamborghini glided smoothly along the winding road, Mia felt the emotions swirling inside her reach a boiling point. She had spent the last several minutes sharing her frustrations and fears, baring her soul to the father who had left them behind. Now, she wrestled with the reality of his presence and the weight of his words. I want to help you, her father had said earnestly, his voice filled with sincerity. I want to be part of your lives again. Mia glanced out the window, watching the trees whiz by in a blur of green and brown. Asterisk help? Asterisk, the word echoed in her mind, and she couldn't shake off the feeling of skepticism that crept in. Did he really mean it? After all these years of silence, could they truly rebuild their relationship? Why now? she had asked earlier, still caught in a whirlwind of emotions. You didn't think about us when you left. You didn't think about how hard it was for us. I was young and foolish, he had replied, regret etched in his features. But I want to make things right. I'm back now and willing to support you both. Sitting beside him in that luxurious car, a part of Mia wanted to believe him. After all, she had yearned for a father figure for so long. She missed the safety and warmth that came with it. But could she trust him again? Silence enveloped them once more as they drove, the only sound being the gentle hum of the engine and the rustling wind outside. The landscape began to change from familiar roads toward open fields bathed in golden light. Yet Mia found it hard to enjoy the beauty around her. Her thoughts were too tangled with doubt and fear. What if this doesn't work out? She finally asked, her voice breaking through the quiet. What if we can't move past everything? Her father took a deep breath as if considering every word carefully. I understand why you'd feel that way, he said slowly. But I'm willing to put in the effort. I want to know everything. Your struggles, your achievements, Jake's life. The idea sent waves of uncertainty crashing over her. Those uncharted waters felt daunting. What if he learned too much? What if he couldn't handle it? I've worked so hard to keep everything together for Jake, she said quietly, vulnerability creeping into her voice. I've sacrificed so much just to make sure we don't fall apart. And you've done an amazing job, he replied earnestly, glancing at her with admiration that made her heart swell amidst conflicting emotions once more. But what about you? Mia pressed, determined to hold on to her frustrations even as hope fluttered within her chest like a fragile bird taking flight. What will you do? Just show up when it's convenient for you? No, he said firmly, shaking his head. I want to be there for you both as much as I can. I recognize that I've missed so much already, but I want to start anew and make sure you both feel supported. The weight of his words lingered heavily as Mia considered what that could really mean for their future together. Could they truly start over? She felt torn between wanting desperately to embrace this opportunity and fearing the pain of disappointment. Maybe we could try, she whispered finally, feeling as though admitting hope could be dangerous yet necessary. A decision bound by love lingering just beneath surface urges propelling forward. Her father smiled at her response. A flicker of hope ignited between them amidst their turbulent past. A shared breath seemed almost palpable, charged with renewed possibility, and just like that, the car became a bridge, spanning two separate lives across years marked by hurt strung together, now closer. Entwined, hopeful, budding hearts opened wide, awaiting exploration journeys, laid ahead, gently mingling, trust built upon tender memories shared. As they continued down the road lined with trees turning colors toward autumn hues, golden leaves fluttering gently in the wind, Mia felt something shift inside her. She realized that accepting his offer also meant accepting a new chapter for herself and Jake. She didn't need to carry every burden alone anymore. Perhaps allowing him back into their lives could foster healing and stronger bonds, a chance to create new memories rather than dwell solely on what had been lost. As they turned onto a quieter road bordered by fields stretching vast across horizons, inviting warmth, witnessing lush splendor, igniting futures, shimmering brightly, welcomed, sweetly beckoning, still whispered, calling forth adventure, awaited, longing, gently whispered love, hoping, returning alive, blooming anew, renewed. Mia knew there would be challenges ahead. Nothing would erase the past or fill in the gaps overnight, but maybe together they could forge ahead and craft something beautiful from where they stood now. In this moment, perched on the edge of uncertainty but buoyed by profound hope shared, she smiled softly at her father. Ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, hand in hand joined on this journey towards rediscovery, embraced deeply transforming love, blooming together anew.